thrifted kitchen organization ideas for you. And a few Amazon organization finds. I'm also going to show you guys a few expert kitchen decoration tips as well as zoning tips.
Hey there, I'm Shayla, an earthy mountain mama and a happy homemaker wife. Thank you for being here. We have a homeschool family of 8, and weekly I share a video here with wholesome scratch cooking, homemaking, homeschooling, and homesteading, and a short, sweet devotional with hopes of being a light in this dark world. I am no spring chicken like so many similar YouTubers, but what I do have is over 30 years experience in many of the things that I share here at this channel. We would love to have you come along and join us here, so hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see videos like this more often. If you need a dish rack and you don't like the look or the clutter of having a dish rack on the counter, consider one of these carts. They are perfect for drying dishes. One of the nice things about them is they dry way more dishes than a dish rack does. Best of all, you can move it around when you're putting your dishes away. For years, it felt like spice organization got the best of my kitchen. As a bigger family, we go through a lot of spices. A lot of times I buy them by the pound because of this. I have tried so many different organizational systems for spices. Some of them worked okay, but not great. Finally, I decided one day that with as much cooking as I do, it was worth me sitting down and really thinking about how to organize my spices in a way that would work for me, my kids, and my husband, since we all use them and cook. Spices and herbs are supposed to be stored away from light and away from heat. So what I decided to do is figure out a way to have my most used spices that I go through like water almost nearby. As you can see, I don't have a lot of wall space to do something like that with. Well, that's when I found these magnetic shelves, and they're strong. I absolutely love them. I got 4, and in fact I forgot to mention it, but I actually use them on the other side of the refrigerator as well in my baking zone. They have really simplified baking. Here they are in my baking zone. Here they are on this side of the fridge of my spices. They come in different colors, and I really like the way that these look.
You guys, I bought these with salt in them for $1.99. How can you beat that? I mean, you're getting an attractive jar. You're getting salt too, which you need anyways. And so this was definitely a score, a very frugal, thrifty score. Check this out. These things have a cork top. I got them at a place similar to Aldi. It was called Grocery Outlet. It's in the Pacific Northwest. In the Midwest, you would have Aldi's. I don't know what you would have in other parts of the country, but I know that in those 2 places, that's where you can find things like this. We're in the spice section. They're glass. They hold, I think, 16 ounces. If you're on a tight budget, that's what I recommend doing. If you want glass spice jars, hit your really super affordable places. TJ Maxx might be one, Aldi, Grocery Outlet, places like that. See if they have a whole bunch of spices inside a glass container that is attractive, that you like, that you want on your counter or in your kitchen on display all the time. Go that route. But if you can't find anything, there is another option. And it is what I did because I could not find anything for my bulk spices that are used less often. So I'll show you what I did for those. The less commonly used spices are down in this drawer. And I have something I've just purchased to help organize this. Here's what it looks like before, and you can't see what's in anything. This drawer is getting quite jammed up. Spices have essential oils in them, and it's really bad to have spices inside of plastic. The plastic absorbs the oils and it also seeps into your product. I've been wanting to get away from the plastic for my spices, and I finally found something to do that with.
I have to admit, it took me a long time to search and find these. I probably searched for 20 minutes before I finally found the exact size jar that I was looking for on Amazon. I wanted them to be a certain height because I wanted to be sure to use height space in this drawer. I wanted glass and I wanted them narrow, not wide. I had hoped I'd be able to get one more row off to the side, but I wasn't quite able to. Here's the best part. Look at how much space these bought me. Both these drawers were cram-packed and disorganized before. Organizing the spices in these jars bought me a whole drawer. Plus this bin over here, which was also jam-packed and very disorganized. So I bought myself some more space in my kitchen. That's always a good thing.
Something that is a organization tip and a zoning tip and a thrifted tip.
I forgot to mention it while filming, but this also qualifies as a decor tip.
This corner right here is a perfect example of all. So what I have done is this is my baking corner, and I have zoned this area with all of my baking supplies. Most everything that you see here is thrifted. Okay, now this came from Amazon. This was kind of a expensive find. It's not exactly a budget friendly find unless you consider the fact that I get a lot of use out of it. And since we're a larger family, I go through a lot of flour, so I needed a very large canister to hold all of our flour. When it comes to organizing your kitchen, you'll find that there are so many things that you can get super affordably on a budget thrift, but there are just a few things that it actually pays more in the long run to spend a little bit more money on. For the decoration tip, you'll notice that I have things in various heights. That is a expert decorating tip, to have things of various sizes. So all of these things are grouped together. They are all for baking. And as you can see, I've got different levels here of things, and it just kind of helps create more of an eclectic, appealing look. A second decoration and organization tip is to group like things together. Over here is where I have a lot of my metallics. Gold is the accent metal in my kitchen. A thrift tip is almost everything here was either thrifted or bought on clearance. If you are wanting to add metallics, I highly suggest you hit your thrift stores first, because they are always packed with all kinds of coppers and gold and just different metallics. But this is an organization tip as well, and it is to, instead of just buying decorations, buy things that serve two purposes. So this isn't just a decoration. This is actually a container that I can hold things in. And sometimes I put tea in it. Sometimes I put things in it that I need on a regular basis. Like sometimes I have my jojoba oil for my cutting boards. My candles here, even they have a purpose. We lose the power often. So my decoration is multifunctional. And that, especially in a kitchen, is a very important organizational tip, because you don't want to fill your kitchen with a bunch of clutter that is meaningless, that looks pretty, but it's just going to be in the way. So this is one of my number one tips, is make sure that your decoration is actually practical. And again, group like things together. So all of the gold together, the copper together, whatever it is you have, make sure it's all together, and that creates a more cohesive look. Speaking of which, over here is where my pottery is. I decided pottery for a lot of my cups. I absolutely love pottery, so it was an easy decision to make. I've been collecting pottery for years, and most of it comes from the thrift store. These pictures here come from the thrift store. Some of these things I did get brand new, and it all started on my honeymoon, which was 20 years ago, with this one pottery piece up there, and that's what started my pottery collection journey. But the pottery is something that I absolutely love, and again, by grouping it all in the same place, it gives your kitchen a much more cohesive, intentional, beautiful aesthetic when you group your collections and your like things together. This area too has things that are multifunctional. It's not all just pretties. I mean, I use certain pieces of my pottery here every single day. That is really important. Make sure that the things that you have, especially on display, are things that you use regularly, and this is a great way to go about that with things like pottery. But I have more than just one use for these. So I use these, like I use these pictures at Thanksgiving, but when I'm not using them, I'm still using them. I have things hidden away and stashed in them that I do use every day. Over here is another area where I have like things grouped together. So this is my tea shelf. I'm a big fan of teas. In fact, I just made a tea book if you guys are interested in making some of your own herbal tea blends and fruit tea blends. I will link to that in the description box below. One of the things I did is the copper looks so amazing with the black. I'm actually getting ready to switch places with my pottery shelf because this is next to my stove, and these aren't supposed to get very warm. So I'm gonna switch places because it's a lot cooler over at my pottery shelf. I'm gonna switch places just for the winter with these things. I will then have my pottery on these shelves, but then my copper will also be surrounding and especially above.
If you are in need of dishes, plates, bowls, always hit the thrift stores first. I finally decided to try Corel for our plates, and I'm glad that I did. That's been working out very well. We go through bowls pretty quickly since we are a large family and the kids break them sometimes. At the thrift store, I've been able to find bowls of all kinds, even Pottery Barn bowls. Almost all of our dishes have come from the thrift store. Same goes for silverware containers or holders. We have one all the way over behind me in the dining room, and then we have one here. The ones that I have in the kitchen are a different color so that we know which ones go where. Gold is the accent in my kitchen primarily, so I did get some new gold silverware or gold colored silverware so the kids would know not to put these ones in the dining room. Silverware is another thing though that you can find secondhand. We have a harvest table right now, so everything looks kind of cluttered. There is an organized method to this madness, though. I've got lots of drying herbs in here right now, but what I came in here to show you was our silverware container. So when you've got kids, it works so much better to have your silverware in something like this. It's a lot easier for them, and you don't have to deal with a disorganized silverware drawer all the time. But this is all the way in our dining room, and I'm going to swirl around real quick, and I'm going to show you our kitchen is, see, it's way over there. We were constantly having to walk all the way in here every time we needed a taster spoon or something like that, so I found it works best to have a silverware container at the dining room table and one in the kitchen. Let's talk about refrigerator organization. There are a couple things that once I started doing made it so no matter how long it's been since we cleaned our fridge last, it still maintains a baseline of organization. One of the things was a turntable. This made so much difference in the refrigerator. I found this thin butter holder. It's been working very well for us. I also found these egg containers. Now, most of this was secondhand. I've been seeing lots and lots of these bins at thrift stores lately though, like this one here.
My refrigerator is not organized right now, believe it or not. There still is a method to everything, and we can still find everything though, and the reason for that is because of these bins. So a tip that I have for you when it comes to these bins and organizing your refrigerator with these bins is only use them for the things that you always have in the fridge, not for just random things. For example, this is a cheese bin. All the cheese always goes in this bin. It doesn't go all over the fridge, it goes in this bin. And same thing for the butter. The eggs, I have a bin in there for specifically for my son who has some food allergies. That is where he can always go for food. His food is not all over the fridge. It's always in that bin. Point is to have specific bins for specific things that you always have and need a space for in the fridge. And I think that is one of the biggest secrets to organizing your refrigerator and making it work with bins. As mentioned, my refrigerator needs to be organized. Today is Monday, and Monday or Saturday are the days that we normally go through the fridge and clean it out, and I still have to do that yet today. But even though it hasn't been organized in probably a week and a half, it's still got a baseline of organization.
If you like unique jars to store your things in, always hit the thrift stores. There are always so many jars like these you see here at the thrift store for just a couple bucks. All of my best unique jars come from the thrift store.
Down here is where I keep all of our jars. When it gets full of jars, which it does often, we take the extra jars and we take them down to our cellar in the basement or to one of our storage places in the basement. I wanted to show you though, some people don't like to do this. There are two ways to go about this with jars. Jars are wonderful for organizing your pantries, for organizing different areas in your kitchen, and they work better for some things than others. They're healthier, of course, to store your foods in the refrigerator in, but there's a trick about it. You can get all like mason jars, all wide mouth, all regular mouth. Some people like to get only wide mouth because that simplifies the lids. Some people only like regular mouth because it simplifies, again, the lids. If you can with them, each one does have a specific purpose. But if you're just organizing your kitchen with them, I actually do recommend that you just get wide mouth, because if you're not canning with them or anything like that, you're just organizing, wide mouth are easier because you can put your hand down inside of them. But the regular are more affordable. You can find jars so many places now, canning jars. If they are out of your price range though, something you can do, it's a little bit more of a hassle. And the reason why is because there's various size lids when you do this next more affordable option. But just save your jars. When you go to Costco, when you go to the grocery store, I'm sure there are certain things that you buy a lot of all the time. Maybe it's a specific brand of tomato sauce and it always comes in a specific style of jar. For example, these Atlas mason jars I don't even know what brand of tomato sauce it is, but they always come in these, and these are nice. I like to get these because mason jar lids fit them. This one, mason jar lids don't fit. They all have different various sizes. Now, if you buy a ton of product in a specific jar like this, it kind of does pay off in the long run if you're going to have a whole bunch of them, because all of the lids will match. If you only get, like one of these once every other month or something like that, whatever would hold this. For example, here is a jar. It's the 505 Southwestern Tomatillo garlic and lime salsa. We love this stuff. I go through this like crazy. For me, it pays to save these because I can create a streamlined look with these that all have the same lids. I don't have to go hunting too far to find the lid. Now, if you're buying something, it's a random thing that you don't get very often, and the lid's not going to match anything else and you might not want to keep that jar because it's going to be too much of a hassle for you to dig through to the bottom of the bin and find the specific lid that goes with that just one jar. But if you're buying things in large quantities and you're going to have a whole bunch of those on hand all the time with a bunch of those lids, that's the jar you want to maybe consider saving and repurposing.
Last year, I did discover a secret source for jars that was the most affordable that I've ever found, and it was Facebook groups. If you have local Facebook groups for your area, make a post that you need jars. You'll be surprised at how many people will be looking to unload their jar stocks. Something I find so handy to help me organize my kitchen are hooks. I use them everywhere. I like to be able to hang things like this. I get these little magnetic hooks for just a few bucks on Amazon. I use them in place of magnets as well as a place to hang things on that I would like to hang on the fridge. Speaking of Amazon, recently I found these magnetic shelves. They're very strong and I absolutely love them. If you like baskets, I found some of these copper baskets on Amazon. I've had them for years. I love them. They're extremely handy and I use them all of the time for all kinds of things. Baskets are an excellent addition to any kitchen, in my opinion, because of how versatile they are. You can use them for so many different things. You can use them for drying herbs and produce. You can use them to stash things in. When they're not in use, you can use them as decoration by simply hanging them up somewhere. A lot of the storage containers that we find are not attractive. Baskets, on the other hand, are. My very favorite basket is this huge one that I found at the thrift store. We store all of our containers in it. This makes it so much easier for everybody. We don't have to keep organizing our container to make them fit in a cabinet. This towel is my produce drying towel. As a large family, I found it just works better to go big. It works best not to store your lids and your containers together in our experience. So we have our containers in the basket and we have all of the lids over here. Normally, they're filed. It looks like the kids put some things in here that do not belong, so our filing process for the lids is not working very well, but normally it's very easy just to slip the lids in and find the lids you're looking for if you filed them in a system and can keep your kids from putting things in there that don't belong. Lately, we've discovered these liter bottles that come with lids work so well for things in the refrigerator, for juices, for milks. I find it's easier for kids to pour from these, so there are less spills with these. Square versus round containers help you utilize more space. I measured the space in this cabinet and found that these square containers fit in here perfectly. They're tall, so they use more space going up, and I can fit a lot of them in here to utilize this space. These are airtight. I did get them on Amazon, and so far I've been very, very pleased with them. I've had them for over a year now. I had this awkward space that was fairly narrow between my stove and my refrigerator, and I really wanted to have something here that I could set things on. I found that this cart was perfect for utilizing every inch of this space. I like these metal baskets. They're perfect for putting damp towels and rags into so that they don't mold in a laundry pile somewhere. I will link to this cart below. All right, this next tip isn't necessarily an organization tip, but it is a tip that I highly recommend to keep keep your drawers in good condition. Drawer mat protectors will keep your drawers looking sparkling brand new, and I'll show you what happens down here. So down here we've been storing the toaster. What happens is these crumbs over time scratch and stain the finish in your drawers, and it happens in all drawers all throughout the house. I wanted to be able to hang my aprons on the fridge so that they were within reach. I found this nifty hook. You could use it for aprons, you could use it for hanging your utensils. It's extremely strong. If you need cookbooks, you can find them for about a third of the cost on Amazon versus the bookstore. Way more affordable. Over here is just another example of how I have grouped some like colored pieces together for that cohesive look.
There are some organizational items that are honestly more trouble than they're worth that I found through the years. What makes the difference, I feel like, is just your unique needs. There are some things that will make sense organization-wise for you to have, and there are some things that maybe will work for some other people but won't work for you with organization. I have found if an organizational item or piece has too many steps to get into, it's not practical and it's going to end up being tossed. So you'll probably end up taking it to like the thrift store. With that said, when you go to the thrift store, you're going to find a lot of organizational items. The reason that they're there is because they didn't work for somebody. So really be careful when you are shopping the thrift store for organizational items. But sometimes you will find things there that do work and will work for you. Maybe they didn't work for somebody else, but they will work for you, and it has to do with your home. This is a little tea organization box that I found. I can't remember the brand name. It was a very fancy brand name. I remember when I got it, I looked it up. I think I got this thing for just a couple bucks. Brand new, they're quite expensive. And I found this at the thrift store. In my previous home, it didn't work as well because I didn't have a very good place to put it. In this home, I have a really good place to put it, so it works a lot better than it did in the previous home. I just stick it right under here, but it also works in the drawer over there. And it's just handy for organizing the different tea bags. But for some people, something like this may be completely impractical and not work. So you really need to know your needs and where you plan to put some of the organizational items that you're finding. Sometimes it takes trial and error. So some things will work for you in a certain area, maybe not in another area. Some things won't work for you because of the nature of person that you are. And it really just has to do with your family and your unique preferences and needs. So trial and error. Generally speaking, if something has way too many steps, it's probably not going to work very well for anybody.
A little Amazon find that I have found extremely handy lately is this bag organizer. We had baggies taking over a large drawer in our kitchen, and this solved that problem and keeps them all nice and tidy in a compact space. I do recommend this piece. Very handy. They come in wood as well.
Okay, I just finished filming that clip and my daughter is standing right here and she saw me pull this out and she thought I was getting ready to tell you guys that this thing doesn't work for me, and she was ready to say, "It's mine!" So this might be something you want to consider because obviously it's one of my favorite items. It's one of my daughter's favorite items. I will try to find one of these and link it on Amazon for you guys. Knife organization is something that has always thrown me for a loop. I had a knife organizer I actually loved. I liked it very much. It worked extremely well. I will link to that specific knife holder in the description box below because it has been my favorite knife holder organization piece of all time. I gave it to one of my dear friends because when I got my island, my chopping station moved from over here where you see it. This is the drawer. This is the area where I had my chopping station before, and the knife organizer fit perfectly in this drawer. But this is a craft made over here, and it's got specific organization compartments. And it's even got a knife one in here, which is nice. It does not fit large knives though. So I've been putting the large knives up here, and they're getting dull. It's hard on them. It's really bad to put your knives in a drawer like this where they're clinging together. They will get dull and it's just very bad for your knives. But I wanted the knives over here. I didn't want to have to carry the knives from over here to over here, especially when the kids are in the kitchen running around all over the place. I just wanted one place to be able to get my knives and start chopping right here and kind of keep them in a central location. Again, zoning. So this is my chopping zone, and I like it like this because I can chop from either here or here and turn around and drop my chopped items in the pot, the boiling pot, the sauteing pan, whatever. Anyways, long story short, the knife organizer no longer worked for me in this kitchen with my new island setup. So I have purchased a new block. Since I have this huge island, it's actually oversized. An island is only supposed to take up a certain percentage of your kitchen, and I think it's like 10% or something like that. I can't remember what the actual percentage is. I talked about that in one of my kitchen tours that's from last summer, which I will put in the cards. I have this huge oversized island. Last night I was in a kitchen store and I realized a knife block would be probably the smartest thing for me to have at this point in time. I've never had a kitchen big enough where I had enough counter space for a knife block before. I do now, and I realized it would be extremely handy to have the knife block sitting here. So I ordered one. I just ordered it today, and it'll be here in a few days, but it's gonna be nice. I'm looking forward to it. After looking at it in the kitchen store and kind of handling it for a minute, I realized I don't think I would mind this in my kitchen. And I think it would be very handy to just have the knives in a knife block where I could reach and just start chopping. That's what I'm doing now for knives. The kitchen is one of the places that I found really helps to pay attention to. It's the heartbeat of the home. As the heartbeat of the home, it's where the family is nourished. And it's a place you're going to need to be spending a lot of time in. The goal of the kitchen is to create a beautifully aesthetic place that draws you in, that you want to be in, but it also needs to be functional. And learning to make your kitchen functional as well as an inviting place is something that varies family by family and person by person.
But I'm not sure that there's any room in the house that it pays off so well to invest some time and the right organizational pieces into, because the time saved and the emotional expense saved of having a kitchen that truly fits your needs is just immense.